Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. I'm Coach Lindsay, joined with Coach Loretta, and today we have back guest Coach Wendy, and we're going to talk all things Black Canyon and how to train in the Midwest. But welcome, everyone.
Hey, good to see everybody.
Thanks for having me back. Something fun and new now, not talking dogs this time, right?
For
Yes,
sure.
although we could talk about dogs forever. I wanted to kind of start off. We've got some exciting news that Loretta's been working on. She's been hosting a virtual boot camp that I want to hear a little bit more about. So I want to start off it that way.
Okay, sounds good. So I have a strength training background, and back when my children were in middle school, high school, I really started getting into strength training and coaching strength training for the middle school, high school athletes. And then it kind of
Mhm.
evolved into their parents, and it just became this thing. So I have a pretty big love for strength training. And so not too long ago, I just got updated and got a new certification. I got the NASM Strength and Conditioning Coaching certification. So I'm like, I really sort of miss this part of my life. I really loved being in the gym and helping people. And so I decided to try it a little bit virtually. So I started coaching an athlete one-on-one virtually through strength training. Love it. The progress that she's making is incredible and she loves it. And so I'm like, okay, this
Cool.
is really cool. So I thought, well, maybe it would be cool to be able to do a group of people and, see how that goes so that it's a little bit more cost effective for people. And
Mhm.
it's just nice to have people to train with and then help to hold each other accountable. So this week I offered my first free session where we came together and strength trained. So I guide them through a workout. I'm watching their mechanics, their form, keeping them going. Everyone really loved it. So next week
Great.
I'm starting a 6-week boot camp. It's 2 times a week for about 45 minutes that we go through again, like a strength training cycle geared towards running and making sure everybody's using good form. And what I noticed in the opportunities that I've had is that I'm really glad to have this opportunity to help people because I think people are doing strength training, one, maybe aren't confident in it because
Mhm.
they don't know if they're doing it right. And then two, just having that accountability. The particular athlete that I started with, she's like, I've been lifting the same weights for like 15 years. I haven't been making progress because she didn't know how to progress herself and didn't have the confidence to. And
Right.
now, she's deadlifting probably her body weight. I mean, like it just, you know,
Awesome.
it's just giving that confidence. And one of the things I love about strength training is that confidence goes into life. It's not just into, strength training. It becomes part of you and makes you a more confident person. And so I'm excited to do it. So I do have a few spots open. So if anybody's interested, you can reach out to me. My Instagram's Ultra Crazy Runner. There's details there. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really fun. So anyone that wants to join in, be sure to reach out to Loretta. But yeah, welcome, Coach Wendy. Let's hear a little bit about your kind of lead up to Black Canyons. And you ran the 50K, correct?
I ran the
Oh, you
100K
ran
at
the
Black
100K.
Canyon.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
The
Okay.
lead
You're
up
all
was really interesting for me because, as you know, I'm in Minnesota, northern
yeah.
Minnesota. So winter running and training has been really its own challenge and in the own, sense of the word. And yet, I mean, I just knew coming back at this point in Black Canyon, the timing of the race, I was going to
Mhm.
have to really focus on what I could control.
Right.
And so I just used the winter running to my advantage, honestly. I did mixed treadmill and outdoor running.
Hmm.
I really didn't mind the outdoor running, even though it was super cold, simply because where I'm at, the roads and trails are really bad in terms of ice and
Yeah.
instability. And so I took that as, okay, this is going to be good for my ankles and this is
Yeah.
going to be good for my legs and my knees in unstable terrain, although admittedly looking at the Black Canyon course, it's deceiving. It does not tell you how rocky that course really is.
Yeah.
So I probably would have done a little bit more ankle like mobility training, strengthening, even foot training.
Yeah.
But I had a good almost 10 weeks of build, which was
Mhm.
really great. Coming off of my last 100K this fall in
Mhm.
late October. And I really pivoted and took some appropriate downtime with that. And then, of course, with the holidays, that always makes it a little bit challenging to navigate with all the things. But I really got a really good, strong build and was super excited to just get out of the winter weather and get to the
Hmm.
desert. So it was good.
Yeah.
I did put a lot of focus on strengthening, which I knew was going to be needed after my last 100K. I'm reminded. So, Coach Loretta, you're speaking my love language right now with this strength boot camp because I always end up pivoting and putting more emphasis early on when I start rebuilding a new cycle towards a new race with the strength training.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to ask because I had trained somebody for the 100K recently for the Black Canyons, and we did being from the West, not from the West Coast, but I live on the West Coast. I ran a bunch in Arizona. I knew that it was probably going to be rocky. I hadn't been to the exact course, but we definitely had that as a focus. Like you were saying, the rough trails are probably good for that to like help your ankles and prepare them. But obviously, this course starts out with a massive downhill after the first couple miles for miles. How did you train for that? Did you do single leg strength or were you able to train outside for that as well?
Yeah, I am a huge advocate for single leg strength,
Mhm.
particularly because, it's so hard to train downhill, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to tear your quads up in the process to get to your race day. So I think you have to balance that with really cognizant training on the downhills, particularly
Mhm.
where you maybe mechanically shift your footing a bit. I definitely take smaller strides and sort of do mini, steps or side steps, if you will, when descending, because you don't necessarily want to put that full load on your legs and have them torn up in the first 15 miles of a 62-mile distance. And that was honestly probably the toughest part of where I really had to focus on some downhills, even on my treadmill, and really that strength training in single leg. It's almost instantaneously evident how you can find imbalances in your body very quickly when you start
Mhm.
doing single leg. So
Yeah.
I really just focused on those kind of pinpointed areas that I knew were sort of my problem area and
Yeah.
knew, okay, I got to get these strong or I'm never going to make it.
Yeah.
I like to, for athletes, I also like to build in like box drop descents. So you're working
Mm.
on that descent and then squats where you're doing knees over toes again. So working on that descending. It's kind of good ways to simulate that when you don't have that long downhill to be able to practice on, but to get yourself strong. But I think it's hard, early in a race when you feel really strong to not let yourself go too fast and blow up on the downhill. How did you handle that mentally, like to kind of hold the brakes?
Yeah, it kind of happened almost perfectly in the sense that, yeah, I did start off mile one pretty hot and heavy, and then I reeled it in and was like, no, no, this can't happen this early on. But starting at elevation for me, because I don't have elevation, was almost a bit of a limiter in a good way for me.
Hmm.
So it actually made my heart rate and my breathing that much tougher to start with. And I recognized that right away, which was super helpful to say, "Ooh, okay, don't push the brakes too hard too soon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down on elevation, so it will hopefully catch up and catch on a bit more easily as we descend," which was absolutely the case. I could tell when we were starting to slowly creep down to more the elevation I was used to.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
What
it was
elevation
good.
did you start out at?
I think it's just above 5,500 or
Yeah,
5,000
it's
elevation.
enough to make
Yeah.
you know.
hmm
That's about where it is in Boulder when we go visit. And I always, my first few days of running, I feel like I'm really out of shape. Like
You breathe heavier. It's like almost like your lungs are just working that much harder, and you're going,
yeah,
why do I feel like I'm kind of just out of breath at this
yes,
pace? I should be
yes,
just feeling easy peasy, you know?
exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to ask another part about that race and the training. I knew it was going to be hot for the Midwest runner that I was training. Did you do any sauna or were you prepared for the heat? Did you feel hot? What was kind of that experience?
Great question. I'm giggling because as much as I thought my 3 to 4 day a week of saunaing was going to be plenty for me for a good 2 months of that training block, it was not even close. I
Hmm.
think my body is just too adapted and too acclimated. I had been outside in 20, 30 below weather day after day. And so I knew, and to your point, I that was going to be the kind of caveat that I knew would either
Hmm.
make or break my race for me
Yeah.
personally. Though I've always performed well in high heat temps. I mean,
Hmm.
Hennepin 100 was super hot, record-breaking year. I did amazing there and managed to, finish first place female, but it was just one of those things where I was like, if I don't get a handle on this, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bonk and probably be done at the 50K.
Yeah.
And so I did everything with extra electrolytes. I knew my body was going to take in more fluids than normal.
Yeah.
So I planned extra fluids. I did salt tabs, although admittedly, I started those too late in the race.
Hmm.
And I knew that because I looked down at myself and I could already see the white sweat lines,
Yeah.
like just layering my clothing. And I'm a salty sweater. Not everyone is. And because of that, I came rolling into the aid station with my crew and I looked at them and I said, "Ugh, this is not looking good. I needed to have those salt tabs sooner than I had planned originally."
Yeah.
So sauna's good, but it's maybe not perfect.
Yeah.
I wished I maybe would have figured out some other ways to navigate the heat and then to just cooling. I used bandana in the race with ice for
Hmm.
much of it, and then just like I said, carried more electrolytes and an additional flask than I normally would
Yeah.
because I had one leg that I ran out of fluids a mile and a half back from the aid station, and that was a
It
little
was a long time.
nerve-wracking. I was like, "What? You mean I couldn't even make it 6 miles with this much fluids? I normally am just fine for a good 8 or 9 miles."
Yeah.
So that just was telling that that desert dry heat
It
really
takes a lot.
zapped it.
Yeah, I try and tell people that a lot here, like with people I coach or anyone that asks advice about racing on the West Coast or anywhere over here. You forget that it's truly a desert. Like what your normal fluid intake is not going to be enough. Even though the humidity brings its own set of challenges, the desert heat is like, first of all, you feel more parched. So the tendency to just chug your water and not, ration it correctly is huge. I do that a lot. And then my stomach immediately goes because it's just sitting there. And then I'm out of water till the next aid station. But definitely the dry heat is something that it's hard to practice, but it does take more fluid, more concentrated fluid. But a perk of it that I tell people too is you can dump water on yourself without a real risk of chafing. Like,
Yeah. My,
Right.
my first experience in the desert was running Desert Solstice, and
mhm.
it snuck up on me really fast because the temperature felt cool. It
Yeah,
didn't feel that hot to me, and I didn't feel like I needed to drink because I wasn't sweating buckets like I do in the Midwest where we have
yeah,
so much humidity. So it kind of it's deceiving. It deceivingly sneaks up on and you're dehydrated. And then you've got the leg cramps going on. And like where did this come from? I thought I was fine. So and then I think the other thing about the desert is the temperature swing that you get. So
mhm.
talk to us about the temperature swing and like how you manage that because when you
Yeah.
hear like it's going to be like 40 degrees in the desert, I always tell people that is much colder than it is in the Midwest when it's 40.
Yeah,
In the more 40 degrees in the Midwest, I'm in shorts and a tank top. In the desert, I'm cold.
yep. That swing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the starting line was 31 degrees and it
Mhm.
rained the whole day before. So it was almost damp in a way, but much cooler. That coolness just hits straight to the bone.
It
To
does.
Yeah.
your point, here in Minnesota, it is warm and sunny. It was 34 degrees when I left and people were wearing shorts and no jacket. And so, yes, you get there, and I used arm sleeves. I used just kind of like throwaway gloves from the Dollar General. And I was like, okay, I've got all the things to keep my body somewhat warm until the sun breaks and does come up over the mountains. And I knew that I could shed quickly and then, adjust and use like the fluids to cool me as the high heat came up. But again, it's sometimes deceiving. You think,
Hmm.
oh, it's sunny, it doesn't feel that hot. but it does zap you differently. And so I was rolling in the cooling elements much sooner than I had expected there too.
Yeah. And like even today when I was looking at the weather, I was telling Loretta, our this is not normal. I mean, we get low like this, but our nights, which is the same as Arizona, get like in the 30s and 40s. But then the day, it's probably going to hit like 80 here. Like that swing really shocks the body when you're exerting such a big energy.
Effort.
Yeah. So, and
Hmm.
then people see 70 degrees, and I'm sure you guys don't think that's warm. When you're out on a trail that's completely exposed, like the desert is, it is 70 feels like 90. It's crazy.
Well, and to your point, you think, oh, 60s is great. That would have been feeling amazing in the Midwest. But
Yeah.
there is no reprieve in the desert. I
No.
mean, you've got cactuses. They don't give you any sort of shade or anything. So I think there was maybe a couple sections that were on the opposing side of the canyon where we were kind of weaving around that we got just a hint of shade. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't think I would have ever recognized this shade like I did there because I was like, oh, this feels
Yay.
amazing. Yeah.
What time did you finish in the evening?
It was just before 9 p.m.
Okay, so
So
you got to see the darkness too. Did you feel cold? Like, what was the plan there?
I was a little concerned that I would because of
Mhm.
just how much my pace had been slowing down.
Yeah.
But I generally do run pretty warm myself, so I did not have to worry about a layer, although I
But
did see other people out on the trail grab
yeah,
like a long sleeve and just throw it on. Probably might be a good idea for someone who knows that they're going to crest into the evening hours, just because it can get a little chilly in some of those lower spots
yeah,
where all of a sudden you kind of feel this cool breeze come through where it's like, ooh, I must be a little bit in a more of a valley here versus on
yeah,
a climb. And it definitely feels much warmer. You can feel those temps kind of rolling through that change, yeah, every
yeah.
mile or two. So,
Yeah. I had recommended two of my athletes raced in Arizona recently, and I was like, just bring a dry shirt, even if you don't want a long sleeve. Having a dry shirt that's not moist, that's not salty, will really help you for the evening, even if it's just a short sleeve shirt. Like I really had to talk my athletes into it. They're like, "Oh, I'll be fine the temperature." I'm like, "Please bring a layer."
there's a really good point to that where if you've been sweating all day, there's
Yeah.
nothing better that feels just like
Oh,
throwing a fresh layer on.
yeah.
I've done that in some of my longer races as well because it
Mhm.
just gives you this like sense of newness and just revives you a bit in some ways.
It's like
And
brushing your
then,
teeth.
yeah. Oh, yes. And I have discovered one little tip and trick there is that Amazon sells these wonderful boxes
Mhm.
of single serving finger wipes
Oh
for
yeah.
your mouth and teeth.
So
That
good.
was so good through the race. Let me tell you, I've always dealt with palate fatigue. I'm sure most
Mhm.
athletes that go the distance do at some point. If you haven't gone far enough. But I used one of those at every crew stop, and it was heavenly. I've never felt so much better in my life.
Wakes you up too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. So what was your favorite part of the course? Let's like go walk us through it and how it went.
Oh gosh, I just love that it was so remote in the canyon and so beautiful. I mean, just the different variations. It was sort of more green and lush further up in the elevation, surprisingly, where they had just gotten some rain. There was so many beautiful flowers that had bloomed. The Segura, cactuses, and needless to say, I don't know all the names of all the cacti, but let me tell you, there was a lot of cacti alongside of
Mhm.
these trails, from the big round ones to these long viney, style cactuses. And you had to be a little careful because some of those spots, I was a little concerned had I not been paying super close attention, I would have had a nice brush with a few of those across my calves or my shins or even my shoulders. So I was like, oh no, we don't need to, land in the med tent. But it was so beautiful in the same sense that you could literally look straight down on most of the single tracks. It was all mostly single track and see just the deep ravines of the canyon and
Mhm.
just weaving along the inside of that all the way was
Yeah.
just so incredible. And then coming across some of those more pasture-like areas where it was just I felt like fields, mountains, but fields of, just cool rock formations. I mean, there was places where it was almost white silky sand and silt in sections, and then there was like white quartz rock, and it almost looked like it had snowed on the side of the mountain, and yet it was rock. So it was just a lot of really cool variations of just the desert beauty.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So that was your favorite part. What was the most challenging part? Was it the downhill that we talked about, or was there another spot that was really challenging for you?
I don't mind the downhill. The challenging piece of it was there were so few and short sections where there was just not covered rock that was
Mhm.
loose and rounded. I
Yeah.
thought these are all ankle rollers. That's all I
Yeah.
kept thinking is don't roll an ankle, don't roll an ankle. And every time I try to kind of push off or kick off and try to gain a little momentum, or I thought, oh, I'm gonna do a little bit more of a power climb. I feel pretty strong climbing for the most part. Every single time I try to get my footing, and it was like my foot would just kind of bloop, 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 like roll behind me, trying to push off on all those rocks. And all I could think of was this trail is just earned so much respect, in my opinion, from how incredibly fast these pros and elites run
Yeah.
this trail. And I'm thinking, they literally are just floating over those rocks. I got to figure out how to float on the rocks instead of letting them roll out from underneath of me.
Yeah, it's a completely different kind of way of running, and it's hard to even describe to somebody until you run on it. But you kind of feel like you're never really in control until you kind of figure it out. But we have that out here too, and it's if I haven't been on the trail like that in a while and I get back on it, I feel like a deer, like just Bambi legs.
Yes.
But it's also so fun, and your legs get so much stronger when you're running on not a very hard surface. Like a lot of that gravel, it really takes a lot of practice to get, efficient at it, but it gives you so much more respect for these elites, like you were saying, that are just risking their life downhill.
There were a lot of falls, a lot of blood, a lot of tears, a lot of just bloodiness happening in and out of aid stations. And I
I'm
kept
sure.
just counting my blessings like, okay, don't be one of those. Don't be one
Yeah.
of those. So I was very grateful I had no falls.
I wish
That's
that
awesome.
because we know Molly Seidel from the Olympian just raced, and she scored the golden ticket to Western States there. And I really wish like we could have an insight into her because I follow her and watch her training, but I'm so curious how this has all changed from like a road running perspective to like that. Like it's so interesting to me.
Yeah, that was
I
a
am
big
curious.
shift, wasn't it? From her to go
Yeah,
marathon road to for her first ultra being 100K at Black Canyon.
Well, and I
amazing.
think she typically, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't she live in like Flagstaff?
I
So
think she moved there. Yeah.
I almost wonder how much she gets out on the trails
Oh, she
and or
definitely runs
does,
Right.
crazy training runs. Like I
yeah.
follow her and I'm like, oh, to just jump into ultras and be that fast would be
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah, and
really
you saw
cool.
Tara Dower with the bloodied
Mhm.
like shoulder. I mean, there were a lot of falls. I don't understand how you maybe wouldn't manage to fall at least some point. For me, I did use my poles, my trekking
Okay.
poles. That was something that I wasn't sure initially if I was going to follow through with or not. And I decided sneak them in the carry-on. We're going to do this just in case. I threw them at my crew at the 50K point, and I thought, okay, if I'm going to need them, I'll pick them up there and we'll be good. I did, and I was so grateful for those. Man,
Yeah.
it was a true blessing for me just to give me that extra boost of confidence with my knee injury from last year as well,
Yeah.
just not knowing if anything was going to flare up. And I was just like, I don't care how
Yeah.
much pain I'm in, I'm going to finish this thing.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful, although sometimes challenging because of the single track. And again, how
Yeah.
close some of that cacti was to the trail. It was a little challenging to navigate in some sections. And then if you had anyone who wanted to pass by you, it got a
Right.
little crowded.
Yeah.
So you were
So
able to get them on your carry-on.
Yeah.
Both
I
ways, no
did.
problems. That's
No
impressive.
problems. I know. I had read so many stories and thought, okay. And I did fly a small airline, so maybe that had to do something with
Yeah.
it. I don't
Kind
know.
of a gamble, yeah.
My friend had her luckies confiscated.
No.
Oh,
She got through one airport, but then the second airport, they
It's all up to TSA. Like there's no like answer, yes or no. It's like whatever they decide. So going, like, let's say if you go back or if you train an athlete for there, what would be something that you changed about your training, if
oh,
anything?
that's a great a question. Honestly, I think there just can never be enough emphasis on the single leg strength work. I
Hmm.
really believe strength hand in hand is a part of now become just a part of that journey and process. And so
Hmm.
many athletes think they need to go hard hitting and heavy on the hills, or they need to, just practice the downhills. And I think, it's always about managing early to sustain long
Hmm.
and to be strong and feel good doing that. So I really would advocate to keep doing like single leg strengthening work and that ankle, the foot placing, knowing how to work with that sort of technical terrain is
Yeah.
really would help. I think a lot of those athletes that I saw that were in a whole lot of pain and or tripped and fall or just, couldn't maybe get themselves going as they had hoped they would have.
Yeah, I've got a couple of my athletes that aren't used to that kind of thing now, and I do this as well, doing like taking it back to like my youth and soccer. We're now working on like, picking up your feet quick and doing little drills. And a lot of times people don't realize like when I run here, I'm constant like I'll run like a downhill technical and someone's like, "How are you doing that?" Like that's hiking out here. And I'm like, the key is to be really light on your feet.
Yeah,
Like
Hmm.
quick
that's what
feet.
I tell everybody. The longer you stand on that rock, the more it's going to give and slide, and the more timid that you are. But it takes practice. So I've been, doing some more like true like cone work almost in soccer to get my feet up, and that kind of helps a little bit for the rock. But you have to almost get creative with running these, trails that you're not used to like that.
Right. I agree. And I think also as we age, our balance isn't as good as it was.
Hmm.
So I like to prescribe agility work, especially for people doing trail races, to be able to be
Hmm.
a little bit more nimble on the trails.
Yeah, it's so much fun too to just kind of do things that you used to do, like, in your teens or, a long time ago and just pick it back up and you're like, oh, this brings back some fun memories or trauma.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I think to your point earlier, Coach Loretta, I love like lunges, squats, Bulgarian split squats. All of those are really key elements. Box steps,
Yeah.
box jumps if you can, graduate to that. Increasing weights. To your point too about your one client there. For so long I was like, oh, 5, 10, 8 pounds, I'm good. Now it's really thinking about the progression and thinking
Mhm.
about that 10, 15, 20, like really increasing that load. And I think your body then just can more effectively manage and or understand how to pick up the feet more. And it
Mhm.
doesn't feel as heavy the
Right.
longer the race goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, it was a fun course. It was definitely a fun experience. One that was maybe a challenge I didn't realize I was getting myself into in some ways, but sometimes that's for the better. I always feel like sometimes it's better you don't know all the things because then you don't necessarily get yourself psyched up in your mind about certain courses or
Yeah.
spots and places too. So that was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's two
sometimes
school of
ignorance
thoughts
is
on that.
bliss.
Oh yeah, no, true. I was about to say Loretta knows that I don't even look at a race map a lot of times because like I will for my athletes. I want them to be prepared, but sometimes I am just like, I got to get this done either way. I'm gonna just go into it and be surprised as far as the elevation. But I try and know like terrain and things like that. But yeah, sometimes like just not really knowing the extent of how rough it's gonna be is a little helpful.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just looked at it too as I didn't have my best time or my goal time for that matter, and I was okay with that. I
Mhm.
mean, this was just my deferral from last year with a knee injury, and so it
Mhm.
was kind of inserted in a fun way, but
Yeah.
also not necessarily something that I had thought of that I would be integrating as the year I mapped out for, 2026 goals. So it was a little bit in this weird place where I'm like, no expectations, but yes, you kind of always have expectations as a racer runner. And at the same time, I was like, but what can I take away and learn from this to
Hmm.
apply to everything I've got on the docket for 2026? And I was super thrilled with what it ended up being because
Hmm.
of the technical piece of it. I'm going to be doing Superior 100 this fall,
Mm.
and that's a very technical hiking trail as well. A lot
Hmm.
of rocks, a lot more roots than down there. But I
Yeah.
thought this is great, just mental training and
Right.
just kind of early in the season and early in the year to really just understand maybe where I do need to focus on footwork or
Yeah.
strengthening feet, maybe toes,
Yeah.
thinking about just all those details, which I think we can always take something away from every race and learn from that and apply it to future races, which is so amazing.
For sure. I think
Definitely.
that's the beauty of racing, right? Is to be
Yeah.
able to take that and put it into your toolkit so you can use
Yeah.
that later. And it's really hard. I mean, I always tell athletes like when you're going to a new course, it's really hard to set expectations for time because
Hmm.
they're so different. It's not like we're running off all flat marathons that are exactly the same that you can say, okay, I can PR.
Yeah.
You just don't know exactly what it's going to be until you do it. So I
And
think
Yeah.
you
a
think
great
that
mindset.
Yeah, and you think with that net downhill, I mean, that's almost
Yeah.
like they're sneaky about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you think, oh, this is all gonna be downhill. Oh
Yeah.
no. Oh no,
Yeah.
no.
Western states as a net downhill. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, you look at how tough that course is.
Yeah, it's tricky.
So, yeah, I think there's
So what's
still
next for you? I want to hear what's next on
yeah.
your list of things.
Yeah, so I just got back to the gym yesterday. So 4 great days of rest and recovery. Yesterday was waking up those muscles, let me tell you. So back in the gym for the next couple weeks, just strengthening and building. I will be hopping into a backyard ultra for the
Fun.
first time
I love
in
them.
May. So yes, super excited to give that kind of platform a new go of it and just try it out and see what my
Love.
body's going to be able to do. I'm actually going to be doing a charity bib for Grandma's Marathon in
Oh,
June.
fun.
Love Grandma's. It's basically my only road marathon to date that I continuously show back up to. And so doing it for charity this year, it's going to be a part of my build. And then Superior is in the fall in September, Superior 100. So that is really my next kind of plan for the year. I might sprinkle in some other races. Admittedly, I'd love to be in Crazy Mountain in July. I'm on the wait list,
Mm.
but I don't know. Maybe
See what
the
happens.
the Lord will tell me where I'm supposed to be when the timing is right with that one because I'm pretty far down on the wait list, but I guess that there's good odds of a lot
Give
of people dropping because there is a volunteer requirement that they
it.
ask their athletes to meet, which I love. It's I think just the beauty of the privilege we get to be a participant
Yeah,
in a race and go and do, but to also give back to the community, the trails, all of that. So
for sure.
Sounds like you
wish
have
me
a
luck
great,
if I get into that one and I have
Yeah,
to tackle two 100s in the same like 8 week period. That's going to be a little new to me, but I'm ready
you got
for
it.
it. So
Yeah.
sounds like a great schedule. So what's your backyard? Which one is it?
it's a brand new inaugural backyard. First time they're launching in Wadena, which is only about an hour away from where I reside. So
Cool.
Nice.
also kind of a reason why I was like, well, why wouldn't I do this? It's an hour away. I don't have to
Hey.
drive 8 hours to go to a race.
Yeah.
Um, so it's called Black's Grove Backyard, and I think they're capping it at 40 entrants for their first inaugural
Yeah.
go of it. So it'll be fun.
They're so
Yeah.
much fun. You'll love it. Yeah. If you, I love doing them. If you have any like little things you want to know, it's more about the mind than anything. But well, maybe we should do a podcast on
Yes.
that. Yeah.
We should. We should do
Yes, I
that.
Yeah.
have heard that. And that is probably one of my number one questions I always get asked is just
Yeah.
like, how do you work through the mental aspects? How do you get through low
Yeah.
points? How do you get through like just the distance mentally?
Staying in it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I think to your
Yeah.
point, I love mental challenges. And so I'm
Hmm.
ready for the challenge. I feel like kind of just always working that brain as a
Yeah.
muscle is so key and it just fills me up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
Very fun.
And what's your charity for grandmas?
NMDP. So it's a nonprofit organization saving lives through cellular therapy, blood cancer diseases and disorders. So
Very
super
cool.
excited for that go of it. I've ran for the organization in the past and just excited to kind of I felt like it was good timing, good place. And it's grandma's 50th anniversary.
Oh, fun.
So the 50th year I couldn't miss. I've kind of had this every other year cadence. Last year threw me off. I didn't end up going because of my injury and all of that. But I was like, oh no, we can't miss the 50th.
Yeah,
Nice.
got to do it.
Nice. Yeah, I have some athletes that will be there too, so maybe you'll get to meet them.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going
Cool.
to be doing a shakeout run, kind of a group and community of athletes that I also work with and or follow on Instagram and social. So it's super exciting. You'll have to give them the plug to find me in our shakeout run the day
Okay,
before the race.
absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, everybody, if you want to talk to Coach Wendy, she is taking athletes, I assume. Yes.
I do have some spots open, so yes.
Perfect. You can always reach out on the Ornery Mule Racing website. Loretta, what is the website URL?
Ornerymulecoaching.com.
There we go. And that has probably some bio on Wendy and on both of us too. But Wendy's an excellent coach and definitely taking athletes. So anyone interested, Wendy's got a lot of experience on that as well as the dog running, which we already talked to her about.
Oh yes, all the running things. It's just been such a joy. I have so many great athletes too, tackling some really great big goals this spring and summer, and just it's so amazing to see the progression and just
Yeah.
how people can go from non-running to their first 5K all the way up to an ultra.
Yeah.
It's such a journey.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, Loretta, anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, I actually have two things that popped up while we've been talking. So first
Yeah.
of all, last podcast you asked me about the treadmill, and as you can see, if people are watching, in the back is my new treadmill, and I got the
Yay.
kicker run, and it's really interesting because it also has a lateral tilt. So, most treadmills do incline and decline. Well, this one also goes
Yeah.
sort of to simulate, being out on a trail. So that's
Yeah.
an interesting feature. And then it also has a feature called run free. So during that run free, you don't have a pace set. Like normally you go on a treadmill and you say, like, I'm going to run 9-minute mile, right? And it just
Right.
keeps you with that. Well, when you push this button, it goes with you. So it's kind of just like natural running. So, when you are running faster, you start to lean. So
Yeah.
when you start to lean, the treadmill picks up pace. And when you want to slow down, when you start to lean back, it slows down with you. It's an interesting
So
feature to try to figure
amazing.
out. So yeah,
I
so it's
love that.
kind of fun. And
Very cool.
yeah. And then I just wanted to, if you don't mind sharing, Lindsay recently had some eye work done and
Oh my
I saw your
gosh.
post and I thought it would be interesting to share.
Oh,
I think for runners, that's
yes.
huge. It's really huge
Oh
because
my
that
God.
becomes an issue for me every race, right? So if it's
Yes.
windy and I'm wearing contacts, then my contacts are drying out. So then I go
Oh,
to wearing, sunglasses that have prescription. Well, then in the evening, again, my eyes are getting dry, and so I still need something, and I still need to be able to see those. So then I'm wearing, prescription glasses and needing to change because I was going through the whole contact thing, and it became to be just too much for me. So tell us about your eye LASIK.
my goodness. If anyone's on the fence about getting LASIK, do it. I did it 11 days ago. I'm so thankful I did it. Like I'm already like the happiest I've been. Um, I had my follow-up yesterday. Everything looks good. I have had no complications. I was nervous for probably 20 years to do this, and now I'm so thankful I did. But my kind of tipping point, the same thing with Loretta, like especially in these long mountain races, when you're out there for longer than 24 hours and it's dirty and dusty, your contacts take such a beating. And I'm constantly having eye drops or contact solution in my pocket. And I ran Angeles Crest last, I don't know, 2 years ago for my last time I did it. And I'm super allergic to poison oak out here, or we have like a poodle dog bush. And touching your eyes when you're not washing your hands, I woke up the next day with my eyes swollen shut with poison oak.
Oh
And I was like,
no.
this is the tipping point. Like, I cannot be messing with. It's dangerous too to be taking in and out of your contacts when your hands are filthy. Like, it's just not ideal. So
Yeah.
if you're a runner and you're on the fence about getting LASIK, I would highly recommend. I did a post about it on my social, and everyone has had nothing but positive things to say, especially as a runner. Cannot recommend it enough. I am not dealing with any dryness. Some people deal with dryness for the first couple months, but I'm not, thankfully. But even if I were, it would totally be worth it. Like, very worth it. And now they can correct like near far vision. They can correct anything. So if you're on the fence, go have a consultation. It's like the best money I've ever spent.
Amazing.
Well,
It'll be
thanks
so
for
much better
sharing.
for the trails and roads and all
I
of the
know.
distance.
Oh,
Oh,
recovery is nothing. Like, it's just the craziest medical thing that we can do. That's so easy. Like, oh, I wish I'd done it sooner.
Well, it was shocking to me. I saw the video and it was so short. I have imagined sitting there for like an hour or so, have it done, and it was like 3 minutes an eye or something.
Yeah, 3 minutes an eye. I'm extremely
Crazy.
claustrophobic. I didn't have a problem. Like, they give you some anti-anxiety meds, and before you know it, you're done. So yeah, and then you get to take a nap the entire day. Like, who doesn't want that? So if anyone has any questions on that or anything, shoot me a message. But I'm really glad I did it, and I can't wait to like actually do a race with, fresh eyes. Like, it's such a gift. Like, my joke was always like, are there people out here seeing for free? Because I'm not. It's so expensive. But now I kind of am, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story.
Of course, yeah.
All right. I
Well,
think that's
yeah.
all, unless you guys have something left before we go.
No, great convo. Thank you, Wendy, for sharing everything.
Thanks for coming up.
yes. Yeah, great seeing you both.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening in today, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you soon.